following is a presentation of Stewed Productions.
All right, now if I can figure out all the buttons, hold on. There we go. Oh, wait, that's not the one. So get rid of that, and then go to that. Nope, that's not it. Hold on. I'm doing it. There.
You should do this for a living.
I do.
Yeah.
There we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a special Tuesday version of Liquid Lunch, live in studio with Kelly Meyer.
Howdy.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? I'm going to try to punch the buttons correctly. Like if you go in a long monologue, I'll take you full.
Oh,
But
that's like hardcore editing right there.
yeah, see, there's a bug there. Philip's watching. Grant's watching. Hey, guys. Share with all your friends.
Even people you don't like, we don't care.
Yeah, just do that. So, Kelly, how are you?
I'm fantastic, actually.
Good.
How are you?
Good. I'm great.
Yeah?
We're here.
Good to see you. It's been forever almost.
It's been, when the book first came out?
Which would have been somewhere around March of 2020,
Yeah.
year and a half ago.
Yeah, out at Thistle was where we had that conversation for Interbrews. You can go back and listen to that particular episode if you want. But I think now it's like you've taken that, well, let me introduce the whole thing. Kelly Meyer, owner of New Braunfels Brewing Company, author of the book, How Not to Open a Blanking Brewery, but then changed for the podcast, the updated version, PG-13 title, How Not to Open a Damn Brewery.
I sold out to the man.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
But he's paying, so.
That's exactly. It's funny how the man does that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But good. So now the podcast.
Correct.
You've got 7 episodes?
I've recorded 10, and I've released 5 as of now. I'm doing 1 a week for the next 5 weeks to finish it out.
Okay, so your latest one is a 2-parter with friends of mine, Teresa and Brett
Great people.
from Fetching Lab, which I listened to the first part of the first episode, first 1A or whatever, episode A, right? Part 1? However you
Part
do.
1 of 2 is what I'm calling it, but you
Okay.
can call it whatever. You're actually more professional than I am. I'm just starting, so I may have named it incorrectly or at least not as good as it could have been. So you tell me, buddy.
Okay. No, I think it's good. I like part 1, part 2, something like that. I don't know. It's all good. Grant asking if we've got any Liquid Lunch merch. It's a great question. We've printed up a couple of T-shirts, and someday we'll do that again, I think. But for now, yeah, we should. I'm going to talk.
It's got a cool look to it.
I might. Well, Kennedy's done a lot. See, that's the thing. We'll get into all this
Who's Kennedy? Where's Kennedy?
Kennedy's actually not here today.
Oh.
He normally sits in this chair over here and would be complaining about everything I did wrong leading up to this because I probably did a whole bunch wrong. But he's not here, so I made it work. We got like cameras all over the place now in different angles. I wanted to give people a different view of the studio. Normally it's kind of this way.
Well, if you want me to complain about stuff, I could probably step in just for the day. It's just not something that's not fun for me.
Nah, Kennedy's it's kind of his shtick, you know? So anyway.
I'm complaining he's not here.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's good. It's well, so you're here though, and that's why are you here? Why are you in Houston? But
Oh, well, the main reason I came is initially for the podcast. I am interviewing Dave at Southern Star tomorrow.
okay.
And Dave's role in the podcast, the big thing is like kind of how it's evolved is the idea of the podcast was that my book was my story, my mistakes, and all about me, right? Whatever. And that's just only the part of the story. Every time you talk to a new brewery owner, they always tell you they went and talked to, how many brewery guys and got the backstory, what to watch out for, which distributors are crap and whatever. And so my idea with the podcast is effectively to compile all of those stories together. So it's everybody's story. And Dave is one of those that if you ask someone in Houston that opened their brewery if they ever talked to Dave before they opened, the answer is about 78% yes.
I figured, yeah, that's
Pretty regular that you go hang out with Dave for an afternoon.
Yeah.
And so as the grandfather of the Houston beer scene for sure, him and Brock kind of pioneered everything down here. His job is to tell us what all of us dumb kids are doing wrong.
Right.
So
It's like the Yoda and the Obi-Wan.
Exactly. Except much, much taller.
Yes. It's true. I guess Brock would be the Yoda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
And then
Obi, maybe?
I think Dave's the Obi.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got the beard. It's kind of it's like a slightly more rounded.
Well, I'll find out about his swordplay skills tomorrow, and I'll let you know. We'll incorporate that into the interview.
Dave is one of my favorite interviews. He has an opinion on everything, and it's not just a throw it out and see if it sticks. He has a well thought out opinion on most things. I don't know if we agree on 100% of things. Actually, I know we don't when it comes, but not beer stuff. I think on beer, I don't know. Beer stuff's funny because it's like you let somebody's opinion on, like he loves Coors Banquet beer.
Yeah.
And I always thought I was like, no, dude, we drink craft. But then I went to a rodeo in Bryan a few weeks ago, and that's all they had. I was like, yep, no, this works.
In the right situation, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the argument, too, that I've heard. I have a lot of friends in the wine side of the industry, too, and those dudes drink a lot of very, very light Pilsner beer.
Yeah.
And the argument is, my palate gets to work out all day long. I don't want to think. I just want to drink.
Yeah.
Okay, I can give you a pass for that, too.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, you put in the work.
Yeah.
You earned the right to drink bad beer. I mean, bad within, like, compared to, like, what good beer is. Not that they did it wrong. They did exactly what they wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, well made. For me, anything the mega brew type things are just like eating fast food.
Uh-huh.
You're still going to get food in you, and it even tastes good. But, the ingredients aren't the same. They're definitely not handmade.
No.
The meat's not going to fall off the bun. But again, you're going to walk away from the table full, and if you don't think too hard about it, you're going to enjoy the experience.
Well, first, hey, Adam, Mercy Beers over in England. He must be just after work, I guess, there, Adam. And then Sylvia from down south. So huge shout out to Kelly for all the New Braunfels Brewing Company Sour Society beer deliveries. She says thank you.
Sylvia's a member.
Yes.
She's a cool chick.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
That no truer words have been. Sylvia's a cool chick. That is so true. So yeah, we're international, and almost as far from here as to England is from here to like where Sylvia is down.
Just about. It
in
feels
Pearland.
like it. Yeah.
You've been driving all around. So you said you interviewed Brett and Teresa over at not Sloondor at Gordon Street.
Yep.
Yes. And is that League City?
Downtown Alvin.
Okay. They all kind of mashed together there. Their brewery was in Leagues or Texas City.
No, they were brewing on site in their place they had now.
Well, yeah, but then they had a tap room.
Oh, you mean Fetching Lab? I'm sorry.
Fetching Lab.
I thought you meant Gordon Street.
No, yeah, Gordon Street.
Gordon Street used to brew as well.
They don't brew anymore?
They do not.
Okay.
The talks are around the table apparently to bring it back though. So
good.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Well, that's been one. So I try to pride myself on saying I've interviewed every brewery in Houston, at least in the Houston area, which there's a lot, and I haven't because there's more that keep opening up. And Gordon,
you can't keep up.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up. I think I'm like 3 or 4 behind now, which is kind of fun because it's like, all right, now I got people to talk to and go. And then, but it's Gordon Street was one I've talked to him a number of times, but is driving an hour and a half to get down there, do a show, and then usually go to work afterward.
Come all the way back up. Yeah.
So it's anyway, I've been there before. It's a cool spot.
Yeah, Henry's a great guy.
Yeah,
he'd love to talk to you, I'm sure.
Yeah, so that's cool. So well, you know what? This is Liquid Lunch. We don't have to go straight like right into the. Let me see if I can figure this out. Which camera are we on? Okay, hold on. Let me see. See what this button does. If something, okay, now that's good. All right, let's see. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. All right.
Why is my zipper undone? What did you do?
Don't ask. Just go with it. It's don't break down that fourth wall. All right, here we go. On a beer cam, boom. I'm gonna hit this little thing. I don't have the graphic or the animation, but it's time.
It's time for your favorite segment and mine here on Liquid Lunch. This is
What you drinking?
So this is what we're drinking. What are we drinking? We got a couple of beers in front of us. What did you brought?
I brought a kind of a mix. So we did Premier de Rancy is one of those beers that most people don't get to taste. Mm-hmm. That is when we make our Saison de Rancy, we always hit the fruit twice. And so we'll put 6 pounds per gallon of fruit to beer in a tank, pull that off, and then add the same amount of liquid of beer back on top of it, pull that off and blend the two together. And I decided once to see what would happen to release that 6 pounds per gallon version just exclusively to our bottle club, and they quite literally drank it up. And so we do that now once a year, and it's always pretty much just for them. I only make enough for what the Sour Junkie Society can handle, and then sneak a few out for myself, and this is one of those that I snuck out for myself.
Okay.
And then the other one is a barrel-aged hazy sour beer. That is a bunch of very cheesy marketing words that everyone else is using and I usually don't, but that is literally the best explanation for it. So it's a Blondine, our hazy, or like technically our wheat beer, it is a little bit hazy, but aged in a barrel, pulled out, re-fermented with tropical hops. And so it's not bitter, just all that dry hop and sour and tropical and
Cool.
a lot of fun.
What are the ABVs on both of these?
Premier is going to be about 6.5, and the Hopfenstaffen is going to be 5.5.
Okay.
5.4.
So approachable for lunchtime beers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I left my glass over there. There's two tulip glasses over there. We discussed which would be the proper glassware, stems, no stems.
Low stems.
Low stems or high stems. We decided to go low stems just based on...
Based on what? I don't even know what we
I
decided.
didn't want to be too pretentious. I think like if you get high stems...
You got the wrong guess for that.
Well, I mean, actually, with this style, it would probably... High stems would be super appropriate, but I don't know. I didn't want to be... it's a lunchtime show. I feel like maybe after work is more of a high stem time.
Yeah, I could see that.
Or a dinner time kind of deal. So...
Yeah.
I always get real nervous when Kennedy opens the beers. I assume you have some experience opening.
You would think, wouldn't you?
Listen to that. That was perfect. Normally, half of that would have been on the table because Kennedy would have been banging it against the thing, trying to get the cork out. So
using his teeth and
yes, and every other body parts that it gets real. It gets real.
What other body parts are effective at opening corks and bottles? That's a show we haven't done yet.
Yeah, that you know what? I feel like that would be one to explore. I've seen people open bottles with their mouths. I'm sure there's other ways to do it.
I can smell that from here.
Yeah.
There's a few beers that we make that I always like to tell people in their tasting room that this is a beer that you drink as much with your nose as it is your mouth, and this is absolutely one of those.
All right, I'm going to take me full here. That's camera talk for a big face, just so I can show this beer.
It also that's what she said too.
Yeah. All right. Ooh, that gets you right in there. That's my first beer in a few days.
Is it really?
And so that's really nice. That's a
Well,
good way to break the fast.
I haven't had a beer since Sunday, I guess, so it's mine too.
Yeah, mine was
Saturday, sorry.
Saturday. Mine was Sunday of last week. A week ago Sunday.
Really?
Yeah.
Just busy running and exercising and eating kale. Eating a lot of kale.
No kale, actually. I try to avoid kale because it tastes like kale.
It does.
It's not good. But no, I've been on antibiotics. But like I was saying before the show, Jeff from DECA, he wears scrubs. I don't know what his actual title is. He may be he can prescribe medicine, I believe. So
really?
So he said that a little bit of alcohol when you're on antibiotics is fine. It doesn't, like the whole thing about it
Immediately killing everything.
Yeah. That's not true. And which I'm grateful for, and yesterday we did non-alcoholic beers on our normal Monday liquid lunch, which if you're watching now, that's when we normally stream live, is on Monday. So join us live on Mondays at noonish.
And if you're a fan of Mondays, you can blame me. That's my fault. I didn't come yesterday. So.
No, it's fine. I love doing multiple shows a week. Actually, that's always been I would love to do this show every day. I don't know if enough people would watch. I don't know if my wife would be cool with that. It's like, I never see you.
Well, you're home. Well, if you were out, sure.
Yes.
If you did in Stew-dio ones.
Yes. Which I enjoy. They're cool. I need to get my Keyser built out. It's sad. It's just a box. But everything in time, I suppose. But anyway, this is delicious.
Thanks, man. This is one of those beers that's this is the 7th release we've done of it, and it's just kind of really hit. I joke with people all the time. We always put the batch number on our beers. That I'm one of those guys that aims at a target, and sometimes that target changes as we make things. And so I usually, all things being equal, I want you and need you to buy my beer, but you really should get up at about the 5th or 6th blend, because that's when I tend to hit my stride.
Yeah.
So this is no exception. I think blend 5 was when I was like, holy shit, that's how we should make this beer.
Yeah.
And this is a couple batches in from that. So.
Yeah, this is, there's kind of like an apricot kind of thing going on in there. Apricot peachy kind of thing. I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
it's primarily the hops. The base beer, when you age it in a barrel, it does get a lot of fruity notes, and our mixed culture's got a lot to say, but this is definitely hops for
like
sure.
Some oak, right? It's like, am I getting oaky kind of like, like something, right?
You get some of that softer mouthfeel from it.
Yeah.
It definitely picks it up. Most of our barrels are neutral, so they're not going to be like real oaky like a bourbon would be. But
yeah, it's like a light, like almost like you can smell, like not fresh cut wood, but like kind of like that. I don't know, like the echo of oak or something.
It does scream for food, though. It's one of those beers that just wants food to pair with it.
Yeah, some cheese or something. I don't know anything really. Kale,
Goat cheese salad. Kale. I've not been able to work out my quote on kale, but you know how people say nothing tastes as good as skinny feels?
Yeah,
The opposite of that quote has something to do with kale.
yeah,
That skinny doesn't feel as good as bad as kale tastes or something like that. I just will not eat. If you told me the only way to lose weight was to eat kale, I'd just be fat.
yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like you can find a middle ground. You don't have to be like ripped and have 6-pack abs all year round and post for Instagram posts or whatever all the time. I mean, that's fine if you want to do that, but you can hit that goal once. Say you did it, have the pictures to show people. Be like, this is what I used to look like.
Yeah, you put them on Instagram, they don't go away.
Yeah, it's like this is I'm just in the off season right now. That's all you have to say, right?
I used to be way more ripped.
Yeah, and then it's like here's the proof. That's all you just need the one, like a group of pictures, and then other than that, stay, be generally healthy, right?
Balance.
Yeah, balance. But how ripped is your brain when you're that skinny?
They gotta be pretty stupid. Although when I'm not drinking, I tend to be smarter. But
I
don't like myself.
Yeah. Oh man, let's get into some. I feel like we've got to delve into some. Hey Janae, how are things? Thank you for delivering sour junky beers to Houston.
Janae Farley.
Yeah.
Hi, Janae. How you doing?
Janae has been a regular watcher of the show as well.
Yeah.
Grant, yes, I wish they'd let you watch the show in high school as well when you start high school. He's starting high school in a week.
It should be required listening at some point.
I think so. There's definitely something about like alcohol, like the approach to it that kids don't get in general. My kids get it.
Yeah, the whole argument of like the Europeans, it's not taboo, so they don't get much alcoholism or whatever.
Yes, and I don't know how accurate that is. There may be just as much alcoholism. They just might be better at dealing with it. Like,
sounds poetic. I like it.
Yeah, but I've been there's a good book that I've been I can't say reading, listening to. It's called Drunk.
Really?
Yeah, it's he was on Joe Rogan, and so I was like, oh, this is interesting. But it's a scientist. He's studied ancient societies and ancient religions and things like that, and he started looking at how alcohol and other things that affect your brain are used in different cultures throughout history. And it's like every culture has either alcohol or psychedelics or some hallucinogen or something like that, right? Something,
or both.
Yes, something to bring down the prefrontal cortex. And that was the whole thing about when you a business deal. When you shake hands, that's to show you have no weapons and you're open.
Yeah.
But then you do it over a drink because when you drink, it brings down your prefrontal cortex. The defense mechanism we have to keep our guards up. You won't lie once you've had a couple of beers. You're more honest. And so that's why you do a business deal over drinks. Everybody's honest.
I wonder how that would translate to heroin. You think that you could? This is purely scientific.
Yes.
I'm just curious.
Yes. I think the main takeaway so far, I think I'm 2/3 of the way through the book, but the main takeaway is that the problem with the other substances like ayahuasca or mushrooms or marijuana or whatever, is like you can't control how it affects each individual person. So there's a lot of variability there.
Dosage. Yeah.
Dosage and just individual, body chemistry and that sort of thing, right? So like I don't smoke weed. So if we were to, smoke a bowl or whatever you kids say, I don't know that what the kids say. It would probably knock me flat on my ass, and I wouldn't be it'd be probably good for you on the business side if we were doing a deal over a bowl.
You'd forget to sign whatever it was you were supposed to sign, but yeah.
See that there's that, and then but with alcohol, we've gotten so good over thousands of years of how much beer is in an alcohol, or how much alcohol is in a beer, and how much can I handle? It's pretty straightforward. Like, I'm good. 3 beers would probably be good for me for a business luncheon, and still coherently negotiate.
Right.
Where I wouldn't just be like, yeah, dude, y'all can totally have everything. And we'll sign that.
Or I'll take it all.
Yeah, let's do a lifetime deal. I'm going to let you all that. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. There's a lot of that in that book. I don't know where I was going with that. But maybe, speaking of books, check that book out if you want to nerd out on that. But let's not talk about that book anymore.
I'm going to go pick it up. I like it.
Okay. Your book and your podcast. So we broke the news last week. You said, hey, you want to break this? And I was like, yes.
It's broken.
Yeah, we
shattered it.
The new Braunfels Brewing Company is for sale.
It is
if you go to
up for sale.
Yeah. price and everything included. I don't know that. I guess actually when I'm looking at the breweries for sale, a lot of them have the price. I can't afford any of them, but it's just like, if I had that much, I could buy that brewery. You do that fantasy like brewery owner. You don't. You did that already.
I did 10 years ago.
Yeah. So
I woke up from that hangover actually.
So okay. So what precipitated all of this? How did we get to here?
I think at the end of the day for me, obviously I've done a lot of thinking about it. I've done a lot of arguing about it to myself and unfortunately even at times with my wife. And the reality is, so when I wrote the book, or I started writing the book, I guess would be a better way to say it, that in the spring of 2019, my first thought when we were facing kind of extinction was, why don't we merge with another brewery? And so logistically, right, we make all mixed culture stuff. We do it well, and that's our area of expertise. But I don't make a Pilsner that would sell really well in a new Braunfels tasting room. We could, when we ship sour beer to Florida, it'd be way easier to stick a few kegs of an IPA on there and see how that would go. And it would just be easier for orders. Long story short, I reached out to a bunch of breweries, and none of them were profitable. And I picked specifically ones that were popular and that I could trade names, right? We need somebody that had a good place in the market, and then we had a niche for what we did. And these breweries that everybody knows as popular and thinks are great were distinctly losing money every month. And it was a massive eye-opener that, okay, clearly profit is not the game that we're all playing.
Right.
And so we went through a bunch of different things and different ideas. I did restructure. Long story short, I think the best way to say it is that in this industry, you constantly pivot.
Yeah.
And you'll pivot away from cans to bottles or back or whatever. And it takes more money, which means either more investors, more bank loans, less profit going forward. And I'm at another point where I have to pivot and pivot out of distribution primarily and back into the brewery and investing in the tasting room and expansion. And I just don't fucking want to. If I'm being honest, it's not that I can't. It's not that I don't know what it is that I need. It's just that I don't want to.
Yeah.
And that means it's time for someone else to take the reins.
That's when you reach that point, I've had times, and I don't want to make it about me because this is fascinating, because usually when I interview brewery owners, it's right. The first interview is almost always right at the beginning when they first open.
Yeah, during the honeymoon.
Yes, and there's huge eyes, but they have huge circles because they've been working, 27-hour days. Yeah. And just putting all they have into it. But they're so excited that they got to this point. And then usually if you come back another 18 months, 20, 2 years after that, they've kind of hit a stride, hopefully, if they've survived. There's been some that have, that don't survive those, depending on, there's outside stuff like natural disasters and pandemics and all that, right? What a crazy time over the last, I guess all the times are crazy. I guess that's what it boils down to.
Ultimately, there's always something.
Yeah.
Obviously you guys have hurricanes here that are just end of the world, and there'll be economic crisis. Somebody like Trump gets elected president, whatever it is, that's a crisis for you.
Right. Yeah. It's all the way around, right?
Yeah.
But I guess you just have to know that's the unknown is going to happen. But anyway, it's after a couple of years, hopefully they've hit a stride, and then now we're kind of seeing, like here in Houston anyway, the first group, I guess they're all getting about that 10-year. No Label and Buffalo Bayou, they're all getting around that 10-year. That was about around the same time you opened, right? And then you've got that next group behind them, and they all kind of bunched together after that. It's kind of, each class was like 6 months apart, as opposed to the way I look at it. It's like, okay, we got to interview. Okay, there's these guys and these guys, and it's So I don't know. It's interesting to see, but I guess the more people that are doing it, there's more of like a hive mind kind of thing. You can figure out what's working best and what's not. And is that?
Well, to an extent, and obviously brewery owners love to share information, successes and less often failures, but behind the scenes we do share the failures. But there comes a point where there is saturation to the extent that you can share whatever information you want. There's just no space in the market. And what are you going to do? And so I think we have been at that point for a while. I don't exactly know what's going to change it, because we aren't slowing down really. We've slowed down growth as far as like the net number of new breweries, but not dramatically.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, we were headed for a correction at some point. But
Well, there was always the talk of only, like 10% of beer drinkers were craft beer drinkers, something like that.
yeah,
That
I think
number's-
the last I'd seen was closer to 20, but
Yeah.
it started lower, hit 18 at one point, and now it's. And I'm sure, unfortunately, that seltzers have killed that number.
I was going to say that was the thing that came in was like everybody's like, okay, there's a great room for ciders, but ciders kind of have their niche, and that's kind of it. I don't know that they're going to get bigger. It's like,
I talked to a buddy that owns a cidery, and he told me that in his view, a lot of it was the acid
yeah,
inherent in the product, but the acid makes it a little bit challenging for the average beer drinker to just jump over to that.
yeah. And I love ciders, but I have to be in that mindset and kind of like, all right, I'm doing cider, But then when I get there, I'm like, yeah, doing cider. It's just fun today.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Cider's kind of got its place, and it, whatever that percentage is. But yeah, then stuff like the hard seltzers came in, and I don't know about the hard sodas. I know that Sam Adams has their new Mountain Dew type soda thing. I don't know. None of that intrigues me at all. I
Yeah.
don't like any of it. Like
It'll probably sell.
yeah. Oh, it'll sell gangbusters at least for a little bit, right? But yeah, the seltzers are just bananas, and I don't know if I've had a banana flavored seltzer, or even seen one. I've not had a bunch of seltzers.
Give it time.
It'll be there. They have pickle seltzers. They have everything.
Yeah.
Pickle seltzer. So, did you ever think about anything like that? I mean, I know that seems sacrilege for me to even ask that.
Well, a lot of brewers are doing it.
I'm sure.
The short answer is I did write a recipe for pickle seltzer and then shelved it and just said, kind of like where I am now, in a sense, like there are just certain things that if that's what it takes for me to stay in the industry,
Right.
I will happily die on the sword of not making that.
Yeah. It's like you got to know who you are.
Yeah.
And I get that's.
And it's not necessarily the right answer. Like if you're a business owner and you pivot to do what you have to do to stay alive, I don't think less of you. So I don't mean it that way. But for me personally,
Yes.
I'm not the guy making seltzers.
No, yeah, that's the thing. Like I envy people that can do like, for radio or TV or what they do sales, hard sales. Sometimes you have to be a little schmoozy and all the sales kind of stuff, right? It's not my deal, and I don't. Kudos to you if you can get everything sponsored and bring in money and everything. But I don't know. I've always just enjoyed the conversation. It's been more about the people and the conversation to me. And that's if I had to forgo any of that, maybe I don't. But maybe that's my mistake. But I would.
Yeah. Well, some of that is if you have a good sales manager, he could teach you how to do it in a way that would not be
Yes.
schmoozy and sucky.
Right.
But those are rare. Very rare. But
Yes. No, yes. Not everybody does that, but I'm saying that the ones that make the most in the shortest amount of time, typically, they have to have that mode.
Yeah, but then we're getting a little bit existential, but that's in our society at large, the people who look the richest tend to be the poorest, and the people who look the happiest tend to be the least happy. So just because they're selling the most doesn't mean that's who you want to be.
Right.
Like they probably hate themselves too and feel guilty about the
That's sad.
shit that they did to somebody and the wool they pulled. Like
Yeah,
So-
and they probably listen to this show, and listen, you don't have to keep doing that. Just enjoy the show, and
grab a beer, relax. It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday at noon-ish, almost 1. But, so, with you selling, does that mean you're just going to step away from the industry professionally, like 100%?
The short answer is I don't have a great answer for that. I still need a paycheck. I'm not coming out ahead as far as financially. I've got a little runway to play around. I am going to dig deeper on the podcast and obviously have the book out, and the book is just getting started because I just released the second edition in August 1st, I think. But through the podcast, I have plans for 2 additional books.
Cool.
Both in the beer industry. And then from there, I don't know. But I do think I'm going to have a part-time job.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll be in the industry or not. And I'll have to help brew for a little while at the facility. I do actually have a buyer that may potentially close in the next 2 weeks. And so if that guy actually wants me to stay on and help him learn and what we do is very complex, and so it's you can't just go pick up a book and learn how to make mixed culture beer that ages for 3 years in a barrel. Like
I do have the sour book over here.
Yeah.
It's even that says at the beginning, it's like if you haven't read all the other books on beer, don't even just put it down.
You're gonna need a base.
Yeah. So actually, who wrote that? That's I can't remember.
Tom's Meyer one?
Yes. Yeah. I messaged him when that book first came out, like, hey, I'd love to interview you. He's like, nah.
You and everyone else, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've had a couple of authors that I've been able to interview, like Randy Mosher.
Really?
That was a fun one.
Yeah. He's one of the books I read in the beginning when I first started.
Yeah. I wonder, does that still happen? Do people still have that stack of books, like this, basically that stack of books over there that before they get into it?
I feel like it, and obviously that's one of the reasons that I wanted to add mine to the lexicon of that list.
Yeah.
The story that I told does not exist in any of the other books.
Exactly.
And so I wanted sort of that counterpoint. But I have talked to other people who have, and actually, so back to the podcast, next week I am interviewing a guy who is not open yet, who's opening I don't remember how big it is, but a fairly large kind of brew pub centric model in Universal City, North San Antonio.
Okay.
And so I decided as an interesting point, he has been going around talking to everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm going to interview him essentially about, I don't remember what it was like 3 months before I opened or 2 months before I opened.
Yeah.
After talking to everybody and what he learned and what he changed based on those conversations.
Yeah.
So I know for a fact that dude has read all the books and has done all the research,
Yeah.
but I don't know if everybody's doing it.
Yeah. Yours is definitely, it's one that couldn't exist. There was just no possible way that the time had not passed. Enough people had not gone out of business and made those mistakes in real life.
Yeah.
In the brewing, in the craft industry, because it was a new industry. 10 years ago, how many breweries were there in Texas 10 years ago? 50?
Teresa and Brett and I were talking about this, and I think there was less than 50, which I found hard to believe. I thought it was more than that, but I think they're right.
Jose, the podcast is called How Not to Open a Damn Brewery. It is on Spotify. Is anywhere? Are you in?
Should be everywhere.
Okay,
If
everywhere.
it's not, send me an email and I'll fix it, but it should be everywhere as far as I'm aware.
Okay, so your favorite podcast director. I have subscribed on Spotify. Do you record it with Anchor?
I do.
Okay.
Currently.
Yeah, it's a good way to step into it.
Well, I don't record it with Anchor. I actually record it on a pod track and then transfer it into Anchor.
Do you have the Pod P4?
Mm-hmm.
Those are pretty sweet.
I like that little thing.
That's one of those things where if I were to start the podcast today, it would be that. Or I actually want to get the P8 or one, the bigger one, big fat one.
When I was looking through all of them at that moment in time, I still thought that the podcast might be a fun thing that I did every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I started interviews, I was like, oh, I really want to do this. It just feels like doing it. So in hindsight, I would have gotten more equipment, and I may still, but.
Yes. No, it's great. And audio is great. The video.
Oh, yeah, we keep forgetting to look.
No, it's fine. I'm just saying. The video is.
Cheers.
It's a whole nother thing. And when you're trying to have a conversation and think about that, it is distracting.
I would be tempted if I was doing video to wear costumes and be naked half the time. So
maybe do it in a hot tub.
Maybe.
What is the name of their show?
Hot Tub Beers.
Hot Tub Beers, Jake and Tim
yeah.
Thistle.
I believe they have another guest host too, but I've been on the show twice and he has not been on the show. So technically I'm more of a host than he is.
They do it in the back of a pickup, right?
It originally started in Tim's house. He actually has a hot tub.
Yeah.
So that was the whole name of it. And then they decided to take it on the road. So there's I don't forget what it's made out of, but like basically a hot tub pool in the bed of the truck that they fill up when they get to the brewery.
Yeah. But the water's not warm.
It was not on mine. Holy shit. It was so cold. Yeah.
Yeah, that's distracting. But I think, once it warms up, you get used to the water.
Well, a couple beers in, too, you tend not to notice it as much, so that helps.
Don't look around, notice that nobody's gotten up to go to the bathroom the entire time. Yeah, that's fine. So, Jose says cool. He's subscribing now.
Cool, dude.
Thank you, Jose.
Welcome to the party.
Yes. Jose, regular listener.
Yeah.
And bringer of chaos on the chats.
Bringer of chaos?
Yes.
Ah.
He's a wild card. Now, listening to just the episode with Teresa and Brett, one, it took me back. I've interviewed them twice. Once, like, right out at their house before they'd opened the tap room. And
I stayed at their house that night, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, they have a cool place out there. He's subscribed on Spotify. There you go. Numbers jumping up. Get on Interbrews if you haven't already, Jose.
Thanks, buddy.
And Liquid Lunch. You can do both on Spotify. Anyway, thanks. Our podcast, Liquid Lunch, audio podcast available also if you can't watch every time. Boom.
And you shouldn't have to. You should be able to, have that flexibility in your life so you're not tied down.
Yes. Well, okay, I've got an idea I want to bounce off of you, but I was about to talk about Teresa and Brett for a little bit because they're great people. The first time I interviewed was out at their house, and they had the taps outside and everything, and it was. I was like, okay, so they were only open like once a month or once every couple of weeks or something, like because it was at their house. It was literally like right outside their kitchen door, and then that was exciting. That good beers, and I just remember this little tree frog out there, and then they had the tap room in downtown. I guess that's Texas City. I think it's Texas City.
Yeah, I think you go through Alvin to get to, or no, you go the other direction. But yeah, I think you're right.
Hey, Caleb Wilson. Caleb Wilson's watching.
Hey, Caleb.
From Backfish Brewing. How are things in Pearland? I hope they're wonderful. Backfish makes good beer too.
I don't think I've had any of their beer. No, I don't think I have. I've meant to stop at their place once, but I ran out of time that day. But
so you've been in Houston, like you're normally in New Braunfels, which is what, 2.5?
Yeah, depending what part of Houston you get to.
Yeah, out here you're halfway there.
Yeah, right.
From Brett and Teresa's, but you've been in town for what, a couple days?
Today?
Today?
No, I just came this morning.
Oh.
I'm staying tonight, and then I'm going back tomorrow.
Oh, where are you staying at?
Theoretically, I'm going back tomorrow. Dave mentioned that I'm also doing his podcast after mine.
Yeah.
And he has a place to sleep there, which means he clearly is attempting to get me drunk tomorrow. So I may not be driving.
Never make plans past doing a podcast with Dave. Every time we've done Interbrews or this show out there, Caleb says it's all good down in Pearland. Well, good. I think we have a tropical storm coming into the Gulf.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to hit down in Mexico somewhere, though. So that's fine.
Just one more advantage to living in New Braunfels. We never have to worry about that.
Yeah. I do. Yeah. And you have Schlitterbahn.
You do. And Two Rivers.
Yes. So that's nice.
Gateway to the Hill Country.
Yeah. Hill Country is very nice.
4 amazing breweries.
In New Braunfels.
Yep.
Yeah. And continuing on. They're not going anywhere.
They're not.
Good. If your ideal situation, like if kind of all over the place here, right? But when you say something, it kind of makes me think. So you're selling the brewery, but can you think of is there a way to go back and say, all right, this would be the ideal situation where things would have worked out perfectly? Can you look at a spot or a point at which, I don't know, like maybe a different choice or a different route, or
like, in other words, like how would I have stayed or in the brewery?
Yes. What would have had to been different?
I think the main thing was, as strange as it sounds, so there are two big things. One was being slightly undercapitalized from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So at any point in time, I think that a partner or some sort of investor would have actually benefited us, because my wife and I were partners, and we're both very passionate people. Mm-hmm. And when the times get tough, we tend to be passionate towards the other person as opposed to with the other person.
Yes.
So that was a struggle, and it would have been nice to have had a third person that had some cash and some opinions.
Yeah.
And maybe driven that forward. I think the biggest problems that we ran into is the tasting room's too small.
Yeah.
The distribution partners that we partnered up with early on didn't have the bandwidth to be able to handle it.
Yeah.
So you combine those two things, we couldn't make enough money at home, and we couldn't make enough money abroad. Yeah. That it was always a struggle. Uh-huh. And it didn't help that I made shitty beer the first 6 years. So if that hadn't happened, but I think if we had expanded the tasting room and had some stronger distribution partners, I think that we could have done a better job.
Okay.
And hopefully the new guy does. And that's ultimately my hope, is that he's going to take it to new heights that I just no longer have the energy to take it to, I guess.
Right. Well, the cool thing is, like, when I've been at my job currently for 20 years, and I do a lot of training of new hires, and it's like, cool thing I say, it's like, once you've made this mistake, you never have to make it again. You've learned to not do that.
Right.
So just check that off the list, right? And so you've gone through and done a lot of that work ahead of time for the new owner. Like, you just learn from me.
Well, if you listen all the way through the podcast, the parting quote will always be, mistakes are just weakness leaving your business.
Yes.
So if you let it happen and learn from it, it can be a positive.
Yes.
But,
I that's a life lesson. Like, when you try to fight it and try to cover it up, it typically gets worse. So just kind of wait, this doesn't look right. And
it tends to repeat itself too.
Yes. Jeffrey has a question. Hey, Jeffrey, I'm glad you're watching on the Tuesday. He says, would you invest in the new guy?
So the short answer is I didn't take that off the table. But I had, if that was going to be part of the deal that somebody either couldn't afford the whole purchase price or didn't have the confidence to afford the whole purchase price, I had considered being willing to take some equity. And especially if I was going to be, I had some other breweries reach out to me that we would essentially be kind of like their downtown outpost in New Braunfels.
Yeah.
There's certain breweries, if you've got a big name in Austin and you had a way in downtown New Braunfels to pull Houston tourists in to come up to your Austin facility, it'd be great. And so guys like that, if they had wanted to do an equity swap for half of it or something to that effect, I was open to it. And it didn't work out that way. So I'm happy not to. I don't need to, but I would have been willing to. Yeah,
that seems like a winning move. I see some people doing similar type things, different tap rooms open in different spots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't for other reasons. But yeah, no, okay, that's a good idea. But anyway, you are where you are now.
Yeah. Well, the deal hasn't closed, so we never know. But as it stands right now, it doesn't look like that'll be the case.
Okay. Well, cool. What do you think you'll miss most?
People.
Yeah.
Sylvia, Janae. It's those members that we connect with over beer. Obviously, I enjoy the fact that they like what I make. Maybe our relationship would be strained if they did. but I think those are the people that I'll miss the most. Even just working the tasting room on a Saturday and people come in and they're like, oh, you're the owner, and they ask the questions they ask and the enjoyment they get, that look on their face.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same outside the industry.
Yeah.
And then I will say I've had some concerns that as much as I'm not necessarily what you would describe as like the people person that likes to go around and talk to everybody, I do enjoy being in the industry, walking to a brewery and talking to the staff and meeting the owner and just that level of connection. And I think with the podcast and book, there'll be a piece of that there, but I don't think it'll be the same.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I will say this for podcasting, you do get to, and I've kind of had to, I've had the thoughts of like, oh, I could open a coffee and beer spot or in the neighborhood or something like that, or a brewery, that's always been, I've been doing the podcast for almost 10 years. It'll be,
really,
Interbrews will be, it's coming up on.
Who'd you interview back then? Same five guys over and over.
Well, actually, when we first started, it was just Aaron Inkrot was our first guest for our first episode from St. Arnold.
Yeah,
he's still at St. Arnold, and that was 2 episodes. And then our first on location was Carbach before it was bought out.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and actually a long time before they were bought out. And then after that, I guess I'd have to go back and look and see who all was there, but it was. We did a few studio recording kind of things before we figured out what we really wanted to do. And I knew that interviewing was the most fun part of it. But yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun talking to people and getting to see that and, forming those relationships. I consider, when you sit down and talk with somebody for an hour, that's a rare thing in today's life, to just have a one-on-one conversation for an hour.
Yeah, no phones and no internet.
Nothing. Yeah. And you and me are just sitting here looking into each other's eyes and making this connection.
Occasionally look at the camera, but yes, most of the time it's me and you.
It's but even bringing it up makes it a little awkward. But when you think about it, it's like you don't do that with a lot of people, and I get to do that on the regular and do it, a lot with people over and over again, and it's, you get friendships. It's like that's fun, and you kind of you root for your friends to do well. Mm-hmm. And you promote their beers anytime you get a chance, and you should go here and try this, and if you like this, they have it at the store, pick it up or whatever, and you feel like you're repping your friends as well, but you're not in the trenches along with them, so it's like being a big fan, but you're not on the team.
Yeah,
I guess.
But at the same time, and I can tell you from this side, the guys like you that are helping bring awareness to people. Facebook marketing is either expensive or rarely works very well. Mm-hmm. And even the tasting room, God only knows what experience they're going to have. And so, if they go in the bathroom and the toilet paper's out, you can get a 1-star Google review.
Yeah.
So, you guys in shows like this actually have a lot more value to the bottom line of a brewery and just to the exposure of it than you might even think. They are very important. So I appreciate what you do for sure.
Well, thank you. But I like that you're doing a podcast. And I like that Dave does a podcast. I think more breweries should do their own type of podcast, even if they only do it once a month or less, as like a little bit of, audio history. To kind of
but it's like you see those new release Instagram posts, and obviously there's more to the story. So if you could sit down and talk about it for 30 minutes, it's more interesting too.
And because every brewery has its own personality, they really do. Those people, when you open a brewery, you pour yourself into it, and just the labels and the tap room and the beers, that you can get a sense of some of it, but there's layers, like an onion.
Is that a Shrek reference?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I try once a show. Jose wants to know what's your least favorite part. Cleaning equipment?
Distributor relations.
Okay. I would say everybody go listen to that Wandering Boots episode.
You know what's funny? And I like Chris, so it has nothing to do with him personally. And obviously the podcast is young, and it's only been open. I released it 10 days ago. But as of right now, I think the most listened to episode is 200 and something downloads. And that one is like 50.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think that obviously it depends on the audience of who's listening to it too. But I think by and large, the distributors are just sort of the hated part of the industry.
Yeah.
And he has a fantastic story, and I think there's more to it than just being a distributor. So you should definitely listen to it. But I just think that's interesting that it's dramatically different, what they want to listen to. So.
Yeah. But that one, to me, that one I listened to it, because it was Houston. They were Houston based. They were South Houston. And, I remember when they were looking for salespeople, I was like, oh, so a craft artisan distributor. Oh, that sounds like a great job. Now, in hindsight, they're no longer in business, so I'm glad I didn't.
Right. Well, they may have been had you taken a job there.
Maybe. That's the thing. Who knows? Maybe I ruined the whole thing. That's a lot of pressure. Thanks, Kelly.
You're welcome. Take a Minority Report issue.
Yeah. It's coming. All that's coming. We're about 10 minutes away from that. If somebody comes crashing through a window, we'll know. To arrest us for whatever we were going to do later.
That we didn't even know we were capable of.
I know. But you were there. Apparently they said we were, so we just got to go with it. Did you finish off your...
I did.
No, I'm behind. What's the... we're going to our second beer? I think we should.
I think we should, too.
That's really good. Sorry with my super loud swallows there. Oh. Talk about... the money side. Jeffrey was asking if the money side has to be the worst. Is that... Money's just kind of the thing, right?
Well, so when I mentioned that we were distinctly undercapitalized, that I guess ultimately that's what I mean is that... so yes and no, meaning that if you budget for it, then capital expenses aren't that hard to swallow. If you didn't budget for them, then they're catastrophic. And so, like, obviously, most breweries that I know are undercapitalized. And a big part of it is, I like to joke, people say that we're a capital-intensive business, which is basically Google Translate for really fucking hard to make money.
Yeah.
But it's basically what it is. Anytime something goes wrong in the brewery, it's going to cost you $5,000 or $10,000 to fix it. Versus, I had my other company before this. It'd be like, oh, a treadmill went down. Well, shit, the motor's $300.
Yeah.
That's nothing compared to this. So, I guess the question of like, is the money something I miss? I didn't enjoy the expenses, but only because it was inconsistent.
Yeah.
And so, if you can plan for things and they happen on a regular basis, and you know that you need to buy $1,500 worth of grains to be able to produce $12,000 worth of beer, and you do that every month. Your distributor picks it up on the 5th, and you get a check 20 days later. That's easy to manage.
Yeah.
It never fucking happens that way. So that's the problem.
Yeah. Okay. So it's the unknown. It's the variables. Yeah.
You need a pretty sizable credit utility to be able to make this industry work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, let's say somebody wanted to cash flow a brewery. Is that even possible unless you're just like
it happens.
Independently wealthy?
What do you mean? Like start it from scratch?
Yeah.
Pay cash? So we did that, which was expensive, and it continued to be expensive. But I also think that's one of the reasons that we were undercapitalized is that because it was us putting our money in, every $100,000 check we wrote was painful.
Yeah.
And so we didn't write 10 when we should have. We wrote 4 and then kept writing $100 checks until we got damn near to, you know what I mean? It's versus if you just put 800 in, said, okay, here's the deal. We start here. We build an operating budget. As that operating budget changes, we make cuts. We make changes. Even just something as simple as the average paycheck for a brewer right now is well over what most breweries can pay. Yeah. But if they don't pay that, they can't get an average brewer, so they don't have a choice.
Right.
And I don't think that brewers make too much. I don't mean that at all. I just mean that as a structural piece of the pie,
right,
payroll and margins don't go together. So.
Right. Yeah. Like, I don't even know, what is the average pay of I guess it would just, is it pretty regular across the board, or does it vary by size of brewery?
A lot of times it varies by what you negotiate and what the history of the brewer was, or the owners. A lot of times the owners will come in from a corporate job and, they're like, we can't pay somebody $38,000 a year. Even though when you do it as a percentage of sales and revenue expected, that's all you can afford.
Yeah.
So you pay the guy 50, 55, and just find a way to make up the difference somewhere, which you usually don't. It comes from an investor somewhere. But so
how do you make it work? Like, do you just have to? Is there like I don't know. It's like obviously you need somebody who can brew and who's good and coming up with the recipes and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't lowball on that side, or it's going to affect so many things down the. Do you just have to say, hopefully you hit one of those like aha beers where people are like, they're just buying it up like I don't know, like a Yellow Rose or something like that people just go bananas over for, I don't know how does it.
Well, a beer like that would work. So a couple of things. One, if your flagship that you're killing it with is a hazy IPA, the margins on that tend to be way lower,
right? Because
of the expense structure and the fact that they go not bad, but you know what I mean. As a consumer, if you know the keg's 3 months old, right, you're going to think less of it, especially they package at retail. So you need a fairly low cost product with a high margin that has a long enough shelf life to be able to continue to run it. And then you've got to be able to make enough of it.
Yeah.
And I have talked to some other guys, and I'm kind of restructuring my whole opinion about distribution in general. Mm-hmm. And the more breweries you talk to at that higher level, the more you're going to hear that packaging is a marketing expense.
Yeah.
And what that means is that the margins are just so razor thin. Once you go to a distributor, then you go to the retailer. If there's any discount program, buyback, or sampling in the store, your margin just gets cut to nothing.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are sort of re-looking at the brew pub model again.
Yeah.
And how can we maximize on-site sales? If now you can both sell from a production facility and a brew pub, you've got a little more flexibility to be able to sell those higher margin.
Right.
The $20 4-pack is fucking genius. So thanks for inventing those hazy guys. But pushing the price up. Think about it. 10 years ago, $20 4-pack, people would have laughed at you.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Greg from California, brewer out in California. How are you, sir?
What's up, Greg? How are you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's, when you think about, so as far as like the distribution model, do you think it needs to be, what do you do differently? Could you go to self-distribution do you think that's more of a viable solution?
Yes and no.
For smaller breweries especially, but.
So it depends. The distribution model requires a lot of logistics. It's low margin, and it requires a lot of sales per labor hour and per expense. So it's a pretty tough equation. Yeah. And actually in the book, I use an example of if a brewery sells $100,000 a month of their kegs, how they actually lose $7,000 a year because of the fact that just the way the numbers break down, ultimately you're not making any money. Yeah. So you also have to run the logistics. So think about, what do you know about maintenance on trucks? What do you know about how to finance those correctly for the life cycle to make sure that you've got a fleet that never breaks down?
Right.
Because what I found in this industry, when you have razor thin margins the way we do, even if you are down for 4 days, 3 times a year, that extra week and a half can completely destroy your year.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes. And then you're always $1,000 under, or even if your distributor pays you consistently 10 days late, I've watched my numbers during that period where every month was negative because the $10,000 on this month was actually on the month after, and it never caught up.
Yeah.
And so it's challenging.
Yeah. So. Yes. Man.
I'm looking forward to, I've mostly been interviewing guys that have struggled like I have and have gone out of business. And so I'm starting with Dave. I'm hoping to interview people who can actually answer that question.
Yes.
How the fuck do we get profitable, Dave? That's going to be
Yes.
the main question.
Yes, that is the big question, because you look around and you think, all right, who is obviously profitable? And what you were saying is that it's not always who you think is not necessarily
You'd be surprised.
who's profitable. But you think like St. Arnold, right? They're profitable, right? As far as we know, it would seem, right? They just sell so much beer, so much good beer. They don't.
Well, and it's an interesting. So there's a lot of ways to structure yourself, and especially when you own the real estate.
Yeah.
One of the games is to refinance and factor that appreciation back into your operating budget.
Oh.
And if you do that, I would make the argument that you aren't profitable, but your balance sheet could show that you were.
Okay.
So the numbers from an EBITDA perspective, you could make the argument that you're profitable. I don't think you are, but
I've watched just enough episodes of Forbes Sports Money Talk to remember that they said EBITDA or EBITDA. But I kind of followed what you said there.
yeah. Long story short, you're not making money.
Yeah. What about, so like for me, I'm very risk adverse when it comes to money.
You would hate this industry.
I know, right? Like when I think of like having a house note, I want that paid off. And a lot of people are like, no, you should why sit on that much money? But I'm like, well, they can't foreclose on a paid for house. Right?
My wife's the same way.
Yeah.
So when we sold our first company, she paid the house off. And I'm like, but dude, we could literally take that money. The home loan at the time was like 2.5% interest. Like you can make 6% just about anywhere. She's like, but I want it paid off for security.
Yeah.
Well, you win.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So is that, I mean, obviously you can, if you have that much cash laying around, you could buy land and the building or whatever, right? And I'm guessing that would put you in a much better spot.
Well, an SBA is a little more likely to loan when there's real estate involved. So usually you can get a little better terms and roll the whole thing in there. So it's not a bad idea in that sense, but there again, like I remember when before I opened my first business, I think I was 24, and I sat down with a business consultant out of UTSA in San Antonio, and it was this free service they offered, and he was like, yeah, it was a gym. He's like, so you want to rent from somewhere? I'm like, no, I want to buy. I want to own my own building. And I wish I could have recorded it, because the way I remember it now is he was so polite and nice and just sat down and went through the numbers with me. And he had to know. He's like, so it's usually about $1.5 million. And so here's what your debt service is going to look like. And I took a look at the number and I'm like, And he goes, and you'll need to come up with about $300,000. I'm like, how does the lease thing work? So it's, they're bigger numbers. You still, even if you get SBA to loan you money, you still got to come out of pocket substantially. Or somebody does, an investor or you. So.
Right. When you look around at knowing what you know, and I guess there's no way to ever really know what's going on the bank sheets or what, the budgets of these breweries, but is there a model that you would point to and say, these guys did it really well?
Yeah. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm from the outside looking in. I think that's Southern Star.
Yeah.
So it's one of the reasons I wanted to interview him. I reached out to him for that reason. And I think he relies heavily on distribution, but from a distribution brewery, I think that I'm interested to learn if he's doing it well. And then, I think the brewpub model is really the one that's going to be stronger. And I would assume, without looking at their numbers, but based on kind of their sales price and the depletion rates that I can see, I think Pint House might be one.
Okay.
Those guys in Austin.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they've got a dog. Anytime you have multiple facilities, one of them's not doing as well as the others. But
right.
I think overall, they clearly have cracked some sort of nut.
Yeah, and that's, the whole COVID thing, the shutdowns and all of that. I guess in hindsight, maybe we'll just look like the actual, lockdowns were pretty short in the long run, I guess. In the moment, it didn't feel that way.
Yeah, and we got it twice. That was one of the worst parts.
Yeah.
So, because remember, we got to reopen for most of June, I think.
Yeah.
And then everybody brewed, filled the tanks, and then they shut down again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's almost like they want to do it again.
Oh, it's clearly coming.
Yeah. That's a whole nother episode, whole nother thing to talk about.
Yeah, we struggled because the on-premise sales we did a lot online, and especially our Bottle Club members and a lot of our loyal fans definitely stepped up, and they definitely helped us through last year.
Yeah.
Without them, I would not be selling. I would have been closed. But the overall on-premise sales never quite recovered. It came back, and there's, the city of New Braunfels has also decided to do construction. That's a whole nother issue. But overall, our sales just didn't quite get back to the level they were pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about the book and kind of the run we were on, we were doing well. I had figured out some of the concept, and then the whole thing got rewritten, and I just sort of got tired. So.
It's the ultimate plot twist. Like, who saw it coming? Nobody saw it coming. I mean, maybe we should have.
I don't know how you would. I mean, not to that level. The lockdowns was the part that was a little bit tough to predict, simply because it was a dramatic action with very little science at the time. So whether it was the right choice or not, there was very little justification for doing it at the time.
Right.
So most people would have been like, well, we're not going to do it yet, are we? So.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like we're so in it still. It's hard to step back and say, what was right, what was wrong. Like, I don't know. I'll say this. I do think there's part of it where innovation, as far as like brewers and what they're offering at tap rooms and deals and all that kind of stuff, has been pretty remarkable to watch. I know like No Label down in Katy, they like every day was some new drive-through promotion. They had like a, outdoor band, well-spaced band you could drive through and see the concert, and people were working their asses off to make things work, and that was remarkable. So, not that anybody wants to have to be in that position, but it was cool to watch as some people navigated through all of that.
Well, in some ways, it brought everybody closer to their customers, and just the whole industry at large kind of stood up for each other, and that was cool. Yeah,
and it did solidify the fact that it is community, right? It's very, craft beer is community, whether it's just with around the brewery or the tap room or whatever in your neighborhood, or the whole industry at large. I guess it's cool. So you're interviewing Dave. Any specific questions that are you doing? You said you're doing. Did you do John's show? Is that still happening tonight?
I'm not sure. He had originally told me that I show up at 6 and start drinking, and the show starts at 8, which only John Denman could pull off.
Right.
And I was like, a 2-hour warm up? He's like, yeah. And then he did the actual Facebook event and invited me to it, and I think it starts at 7.
Yeah.
And you might have just been fucking with me. I honestly don't know, but I'll be there at 6.
John he's unlike anybody I've ever met. Like,
he's a unique character.
I love so many of the people that I've met, but John is, I don't know how he does all the things that it's like, you just look at, like, he just pops up at all these, where are you at? What country are you in today?
Yeah, he's always on vacation, it seems like, too.
Yeah, it's like, what's in that beard? What makes this possible? I don't know. John's great, but, yeah. Oh, Jenna, yes, it is. That's Denman for sure. Yeah, they're new. Or is it at House of Blues? Is that, or where are they
Craft
doing?
beer cellar, actually.
Oh, in town? Because we've got one here in Cypress as well, which is pretty cool too.
I've been to that one.
Yeah.
Last time I was in town, I came to that one.
They have a little brewery in there. Stovetop, I think is what they're calling it.
Yeah.
So
they make a stout that I thought was pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's one of those things, like, they're close to my house, but I don't, like, all my stuff is in the other direction.
Oh, right.
Like, I work in the Woodlands, so I'm constantly,
go north. Yeah.
I spend all the money on tolls. I spend like $140 a month on tolls.
You're part of the problem. See, if no one would use it. Just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I love getting to work quickly, and I hate money. So it's like a perfect combination of I get rid of all my money and get to work on time.
Well, if you think about it logically, most rich people are assholes, so you're just preventing yourself from becoming that.
That's true. I don't want to be there.
Altruistic at best.
Yeah, I'm doing it for the greater good. This beer is great. I've almost finished it off, and we haven't talked too much about it. Raspberry. Is it raspberry? Or?
It's about 80% raspberries and 20% blackberries.
Blackberry, okay.
Yeah, the blackberries are in there just to give it a little bit of like an earthy base because they have a little more character.
Yeah.
And for me, raspberries are they're so acidic that I wanted a balance, and blackberries are not quite as acidic.
I just had the blackberries are really good right now. Like blackberries and blueberries are funny depending on where they're from. That's the ones we get at HEB. Sometimes like there's a lot of different flavor in blueberries. Like some of them are have like a tart kind of poppy thing going, and like they just pop. You bite them and they pop, and they're delicious. And some are a little softer, but they have like a creamy texture, like creamy. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if that's just different. Sorry,
like raspberry connoisseur over here.
Yeah, no, I just I love the berries.
There are worse things to love in life.
Yeah, like Marvin Berry from Back to the Future, and Chuck, his cousin Chuck.
His cousin's Chuck.
Yeah, that new sound you were looking for.
Yeah.
Listen to this. Yeah, this is that new beer I was looking. This is delicious.
Thanks, man. I think we did 9 cases of this last year, so it's always super limited.
Yeah. See, that's one thing. Like when I think about the limited beers I've gotten to try, I'm like one of the most privileged people in all of human history. Just from doing this podcast. Like I've had things that no other human will be able to try again. They're gone, and I put them in my mouth.
Everybody wants to impress you.
Yeah.
Enviable position. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty sweet. So you should keep doing that podcast because you get to do that too.
Yeah, I'll try.
I mean, not that you don't make awesome beers anyway, but
Unfortunately, the basic concept of my show, I'm a little nervous drinking, so I drank on the Teresa and Brett one. Actually, we drank Yellow Rose all night, and you can tell. So it's a slightly different dynamic than most of the other shows that I don't drink in.
Yeah, you have to find kind of that pace.
Yeah,
I'm at like a 2 beer per episode pace. That's probably best. You loosen up a bit, and then it really flows, and then you get past that, and it starts to get rambly and
talk a little faster. And
yes,
I get cussy as well, which I start cussy, so take that as a grain of salt.
We had the FKR counter last time you were here.
Right. Yeah.
And Kennedy was like, "Man, I wish I could be there. I'd relaunch that." I think we're at like 7.
Yeah, we really haven't said it much.
Yeah, my girls are here.
It's true.
If they weren't here, and
I should mention we released an Imperial version a while back, and then it went away, and it comes back Thursday of this weekend. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Distributed.
Nope.
At all? No.
Brewery only.
Brewery only.
I may be selling some kegs to my local distributor in New Braunfels.
Okay.
Which happens to be one distributor I do enjoy working with, so I should clarify that based on some of my earlier statements. But other than that, no, it's just gonna be brewery only, and packages, 500 milliliter bottles. And just for fun, there's another thing I forgot to mention.
Okay.
Do you remember the whole Martin House debacle between us?
Of course.
So, and they didn't actually copy us, but they keep releasing beers that are similar to ours, and whether they're inspired by us or not doesn't make any difference. I made a spicy version, they made a spicy version. I make a michelada version, they make a michelada version. And nobody in the broader market seems to care except just to hate on me. And I'm a little bit weird that I kind of enjoy that. So this
playing the heel.
This weekend, they are releasing a grape punch one.
Okay.
In the tasting room only, I believe. And normally it's been us doing it first and then them, and so I decided to do it backwards. So we are also releasing a grape punch pickle one called the exact same name, and that will be on draft only this weekend at the brewery. Alongside, I did take our Sour Junkie Society is going to get a batch of the super pickle fuckers, what it's called, aged on Jameson soaked oak chips.
Yeah.
And so I released 18 bottles of that for this weekend, just so that we can have some of the grapefruit Martin House beer that isn't made by Martin House. 18 bottles of that and super pickle fucker all on draft. So have some fun.
Okay, cool. I wish I could. Yeah, it's been a good weekend to go to New Braunfels.
Yeah, right.
My daughter was just there with some friends. She can't buy beer.
Schlitterbahn?
Yeah.
I could have sent her like a locked box or something back that she could have.
Yeah, her friend's dad. He's a good friend of mine. He would have appreciated that. I might not have gotten all the beer back, but
true.
But yeah, that's fun. Playing the heel. We need heels. Like I've always thought, there's not enough good rivalries in craft beer. Everybody's too friendly, and I think we're at the point where we need some good rivalries that are, maybe wink and a nod, good natured, but people don't know that. Don't need to know that. It's like, are you profitable? People don't need to know that, but are they really beefs? We need some beefs.
Oh, like some full on street beefs?
Yeah.
People don't think that. Well, a lot of people don't think the shit going on between us and Martin House are funny. So take that for what it's worth too. No. But I think it's funny.
Yeah.
And
didn't you took a picture outside of their brewery, right?
I did.
Did you ever have you talked to any of them?
We Instagrammed back and forth and talked, but no, not in person or on the phone. Okay.
I don't know them.
I don't either. I've reached out to Cody a couple times and actually had made some phone calls, but I didn't. That's a tough. If he just sees the message, he's like, fuck that guy. So he didn't call me back, but I'm not surprised.
Okay. That'd be fun. I mean, that stuff typically turns into collaborations and stuff like that. Is how it normally plays out in the long run. So.
No, it's funny because people like to gaslight me that I hate them based on the behavior that I've been. And like, I don't know why you think that. And if you read the book, I talk about how them releasing the pickle beer that they did, like somewhere around tripled our sales.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, why would I hate them? At the end of the day, they were the best thing that ever happened to our brewery.
Well, and that conversation is always like, I'm like, when somebody brings up the pickle beer, the best made beer, I'm like, oh, well, if you like that, New Braunfels actually made theirs first. You should try it and tell me, which one do you like better?
Yeah.
And I've probably said that to a dozen people just like at work that bring that up. Because I'm the guy that come to for like beer counseling.
Oh,
like,
counseling?
Yeah. He's like, is this a good beer? I'm like, oh, yeah. Yeah. Do you like it? Okay, that's a good beer. But you should try this.
I appreciate the help. I think the camps fall pretty dead set down the center. It's you either like one or the other.
Yeah.
And I'm sure behind the scenes most people like both, but pretty much everyone's got this like, well, I like this one better. I like that one better. And again, why the rivalry? Why can't you like them both?
Yeah.
We used to have that with Guadalupe and New Braunfels when we both opened very, very similar timelines, and people would feel guilty telling me that they liked their stout. I'm like, why would I care if you like their beer? Like, I don't know. It's weird. Your fridge is full of Sierra Nevada, and I'm worried that you had a stout from Guadalupe last weekend. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
That's funny. That's funny. No, it's I'm like that too, though. Sometimes when I'll go to a brewery, I'm like, I did have a beer from, and like name another brewery. I mean, I don't know if it's as good as yours. I mean, it's good, but it's I don't want to. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So like honest opinions on like what I really think about. Like, you want me analytical about your beer? I'm probably not. You'd have to like record that in secret.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm like, oh no, I think you're most of the time, like especially in the moment, like if you put me on the spot, maybe I could get past that. Maybe if I was like, all right, let me separate my okay, this does not reflect on you personally. That would be that kind of thing. But like if I'm going like real deep on it, right? You want me real analytical. Like I do that at home. I'll analyze beers. I'll compare beers and stuff as like a mental exercise. But I never want to disappoint anybody. No one will like me.
My rule is I will never offer. So if I go to your brewery and you pour me a beer that you're proud of and let me have it, and I think it's terrible, I will never tell you that.
Yeah.
Unless you ask me.
Right.
And then I will tell you the truth. But I'm not going to be a dick, but like, I'll be like, well, I think maybe you should go back and check your fermentation or whatever. Like my suggestion, and take that for what it's worth. I'm a sour brewer, and that always lets me out of the gates anyways.
Right.
They're always like, you know what you're talking about anyway. but yeah.
Jeffrey, who is a fantastic home brewer, many-time award-winning competitions. He's one of the Rogue Brewers homebrew club. He says he can tell by the face someone makes on the first sip if they like my beer or not.
Usually you can.
Yeah.
Because, especially because of the character, like when it first lights on your palate, you're usually excited about having the beer, and so you're either like disappointed or still excited right away. And so, I mean, there's a lot of that. So, and that, again, I'm not going to offer it, but you can probably tell by me not offering it that it's not that great. Because if I thought it was the best Pilsner I've ever had, I'd fucking hunt you down and tell you. Like, so.
What is the best Pilsner you've ever had?
Ever?
That's a hard question, I know, but.
It is, because I'm a big fan of situationality.
Yeah.
And so, at my house by the pool, it's almost always going to be Live Oak Pils, but that's what I tend to have the most of. I'm a big fan of ABGB stuff. And I actually really enjoyed the Pilsners at Skull Mechanics before they closed down.
Yeah.
But as far as the best, I'd probably lean back on ABGB. And between Industry and Rocket 100. I don't know which one I like better because I go back and forth every time I'm there, and I tend to enjoy both. So
yeah.
But I'll find out next time, and I'll tell you.
Okay. I'm situation. When you talk about situational, that is, yes. It can be, maybe it's not a 10 out of 10, but if it's like an 8 out of 10, but it was like a really great day and the weather's perfect and you're just in that like a sunset or something like that.
Yeah.
This is all kind of comes together. It bumps it up to a 12.
Or you rode a bike 40 miles to get there, and then you're like just so thirsty, and you have it, and it's just beautiful. Like or the food that you had it with.
Yes. Yeah. That's the thing. Like elevates it. Like maybe standalone, it's not the best, but with this certain dish, for whatever reason, just sings.
There are some exceptions that I would never have that experience with a Coors Light, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad beer. It's not good for me.
Right. No, it's not a good beer.
I don't think it is.
There's like no flavor to it at all. Because they ran out of Coors Banquet at this rodeo, and it was hot, sweating. I was like, all right, what do you have left? Coors Light. I was like, all right, give me one of those. Here's $7 or whatever it was.
Right. Mortgage my house to get a 12-pack.
Yes, and it was, like the Banquet was fine. It was fine.
Or a little body to that. It's somewhat balanced.
Yeah.
Coors Light, by definition, is meant to be light.
There's
so it's
just
out of balance.
It was nothing. Like even the non-alcohol, like we had non-alcoholic beers yesterday, or I did because of the antibiotics. The body is really missing on those. That's like the Brooklyn. They have their special effects or whatever it's called, and it's like an IPA. It's like if somebody took a session IPA and did whatever you do to get a session IPA from a normal IPA, but you start with a session IPA, then it's this like the next step down.
A session IPA.
Yeah, session, and that's kind of where it was. Like the aroma was nice, the flavor is like hop water.
Mm-hmm. The only one I've tasted, I think, Athletic Brewing Company is one that did, and then they had like a hazy IPA, and I thought it was dumb. But.
I'm sure they have their place somewhere for something, but they're not.
I think it's weird though, and obviously maybe it's because I'm an alcoholic, but I don't hate the taste of water, and so if I'm somewhere that I was going to have a non-alcoholic beer, I would be happy to have water. I wouldn't be like, oh, fucking water. I'd just be like, let's get water. Yeah. So maybe for me it doesn't make sense, but for other people that
it's like keto cookies.
Right.
That's what I compared it to. It's keto. It's like it's unnecessary. Either have a cookie or be on keto, but don't do keto cookies.
Right.
You're just messing with yourself.
You're just pretending. Just live your life the way it's supposed to be.
Just own where you're at. You were fat. You wanted to do keto. Eat an avocado covered in sour cream and sriracha or something, or whatever you eat on keto.
I don't know. I've heard many different arguments for how keto works, and I don't understand how some people can have sugar and some can't, but
I don't think you can.
I have heard multiple people tell me that you can, and they don't fall out of ketosis by doing that. Once again, this is not a science show.
No, but you did own a gym.
Metabolically, the science doesn't make sense to me.
No,
but
it doesn't. So, I don't know. And you need some carbs.
Not on keto.
No, I guess not, technically speaking.
The whole point of it's like a body hack that your body would never really get to normally,
right?
Except in the middle of the night, I guess you sometimes get there.
Yeah.
But
I mean, to me, like keto makes sense if you have cancer or something, right? That's where
extreme case.
Yes, like you need to. Jose says keto beer needs to be a thing. Not. I don't even know how that's called water.
It is called water. Yeah, I think they have that.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's just my approach. Like if it makes sense, it's because it makes sense. But keto cookies and non-alcoholic beer really makes sense.
No. And what the hell is in a keto cookie? That's just weird.
Yeah, it's just lard and I don't even know what the rest of it is.
Disappointment.
Yes.
Lard and disappointment wrapped up together in a small little package.
Yeah. Call it a cookie. It's not a cookie. But anyway. Well, all right. Well, we're running up on. I've got an hour. The kids are almost back in school, but now they're doing all the. Got to go do the things.
The prep work.
All the prep work, the meetings. Peanut butter. Yeah, you could you put peanut? Not sweetened peanut butter. Sorry, Jeffrey.
It was just salt and peanuts. You can.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Jose, with the barf emoji for the keto cookies.
That the guy who talks all the shit online?
Yeah, he's the
Jose.
wild card.
Jose, welcome to the party.
So, anyway, so tonight is the show tonight? It's a pre-record, or is it going to be streaming live anywhere?
I believe it's live. I actually don't know.
Okay.
There is a Facebook event about it.
Okay.
Which is, I think, on our site as well as on theirs. But
okay. I don't know that they go live as hard as we go live. We go live hard.
I hope not. It's going to make a long day.
Yeah. No, they go hard in a different, I'm talking about like the liveness of it. This is so live.
The livosity?
Yeah. This is like super live. Like, I don't know that they have anybody chatting with them.
Oh.
We've had
all
the chats.
The dynamic of Denman is I can't imagine him looking at the computer screen going, oh, what is he saying?
Yeah.
Because he's busy chugging beers. So he just can't get over to it.
So who else is it? Who else is there? Is it? Do you know?
I think it's just the two of us. There's a DJ.
Yeah.
Who I forgot the name of.
Muskrat. Muskrat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. I don't know who that is. But do you?
And Tom. Yes. I've guest hosted Drink of Ages before.
Really?
Yeah. When DOA was still DOA. Maybe ask him about that.
I remember that place. I did one show there once.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't think I even left. I was after closing. It was an absolute shit show for me personally. Like,
yeah.
You know what? I didn't even have a hotel, so I had to go try to find a hotel drunk at like midnight or whatever it was. It was
Yeah.
I'm hoping not to do that today.
Janae says pre-recorded. It airs on 97.5 FM on Fridays at 9 p.m.
Good. We can edit out all the craziness.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if it's on the radio. I'm thinking about starting my own online radio, like beer-centric online radio 24/7.
24/7?
Yeah. It'd be a lot of re-airs of Liquid Lunch.
Oh, yeah.
But if
you could fill it in slowly.
Yeah, if we could put How Not to Open a Damn Brewery could be a show on there, if you'd be cool with that.
I would be happy to do that.
Yeah.
The whole purpose is to share the message, so the
it
more
actually
we can share it, the better.
I'd probably do some Texas music on there, too, to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
And like church services on Sunday morning, because I've always liked that.
Church services on Sunday morning?
Yeah. I always like that. It's like, that's what's supposed to be on the radio. But
you have to pick a denomination at that point, and then you'd have to like exclude the other ones, or would you just do everybody?
Do everybody. Well, not everybody. There's a lot.
You think you could do, like, you think Catholics would do it with you, or would they be exclusionary?
No, yeah. It depends. Somebody would.
Just fucking with you.
I don't know. I mean, whatever. Okay, cool. Yeah. Jose's like 24/7. He says he's in for 8 to 5.
That's it. He's got to cut it down.
Yeah. Well, it'll probably be a lot of music. I want to give Kennedy he likes punk rock a lot, so I'm going to give him like a punk rock hour to host some and spin some records.
Yeah. It'd be cool though. I don't really search around the internet that often, but I don't feel like that doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. And I love radio, and to be able whatever. It's not, you can do it for not much.
Yeah.
Like I've already got the equipment to do it.
Clearly.
Yes. I've got all the equipment. I probably have 17 miles of cable in this room.
Like an intestines almost, where you don't realize how big it is till you stretch it out.
Just don't look under the table.
Okay.
Like, it's a fire hazard. You're perilously close to just bursting into flames right now.
I feel like looking under the table is not one of those things I'm usually in danger of doing, but definitely not doing it now.
All right. Well, we'll wrap here because, Apple Beats, just like that, Jeffrey. That's what we got here. Oh, is that what they have? Does Apple Beats have their own station? I want to give, I know there's a few beer shows out there. It's not all going to be all beer, right? But I'm thinking we need to have
also bourbon.
Yeah, a distillery show, some distillery, something like that, or cigar shows. I like cigars. You like cigars?
I don't. I used to, and then I would smoke cigars, feeling like it made me feel successful and rich, and then I wake up the next morning feeling terrible. I'm like, why am I doing this? I don't like.
Okay, maybe I just like the idea of cigars.
I liked the idea of cigars.
That's why I've got some up here on the shelf. It's this is my.
You can see them, but
Yeah, they're just for props. I even have a pipe up there. I tried to smoke it once. And it's there's a lot to this. There's a learning curve here, and I haven't spent the time to do that. What? What? Jose says, what's bigger than it seems? Traffic lights and those dashed lines that they paint on the roads. You're right. I don't.
Those are so big, but they don't seem that way. You wouldn't even. Jose, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
All right. Well, let's wrap here. Kelly, thank you so much for being on the show today. A special Tuesday edition of Liquid Lunch. Let's get together again. So I don't know what your travel schedule is going to be or what much. Are you just going to be hanging out in New Braunfels for a while?
No, I'll probably, unfortunately or fortunately, be traveling quite a bit, I think. So
Okay.
there are some other breweries I've reached out to here in Houston. So my plan is to come back.
Okay.
Somewhat regularly, but I'll keep posted.
Cool. Well, yeah. Next time you're here, let's hook up. Let's do like a interbrews or something. Like
Okay.
I don't know what's different between this one and that one, other than this one's live and that one is not. Bring more people in.
It would even be cool if we could do a like a co-host one on site somewhere.
Oh yeah, for sure,
Mhm.
for sure. Any place you've not been, you want to go?
Most of them I haven't been to. I really want to go to True Anomaly. That's on my list, and I haven't been there.
Okay, those good. Those guys are great.
Yeah,
They're all former NASA guys.
I know.
Super smart.
I don't usually like to hang out with nerds, but this time I'll make an exception.
Well, and they have a foodie. Have you seen the foodie?
I have. That's actually the reason I want to go there. Is they do some mixed culture stuff, and
Yeah.
so there are not a lot of guys that do it, and so I'm curious to try what they taste. And I've seen pictures; it looks cool.
Yeah, I've only done one episode there, so we're due to go back again. So
Okay.
just right there in the downtown area, right by the soccer stadium.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
I'm in.
Okay, well we'll do that. Well, Kelly Meyer, everybody, go get the book, and subscribe to the podcast. How Not to Open a Damn Brewery. Available now where finer podcasts are subscribed to and downloaded. Do people still download? I guess they do every once in a while.
I don't, but I'm sure you can.
Yeah, if you're going to be in a room like in our house here, if you don't have the Wi-Fi password,
I do now.
you do now. But
I
if
will
you-
not share it. I promise.
Yeah, it's super. Just
Except
don't look
with
at
Jose. Jose, if you come, I will give it to you.
There you go. Those dash lines are 10 feet long, according to Jeffrey. See, that's the thing.
They don't seem that long.
Yeah, Jose said they're like 20 feet, but then Jeffrey always comes in. He's like the other side of the pancake to Jose. Jose and Jeffrey are like the yin and yang of our chat.
I'm so jealous. I don't have yin or yang in my podcast. It's like
You'll
you know
get
what I mean?
there. You keep going. You'll get there. It's a great podcast. You keep. I mean, it's the bones of that pod. It's great.
Thanks, dude.
You keep doing it. It's good. Like I don't listen to many beer podcasts now. I do like a couple episodes and I'm done. Yours is good. It's one I'm going to be listening to every episode. And I'm not just like, you remember all that stuff I said about not wanting to this is a genuine, like when I was driving home last night, I'm like, I've got to listen to all these episodes. Like the Meyer and Lewis, I'm looking forward to that one because I didn't get to interview them, but I'd talked to them before. And then I was like, all right, you want to get around to it? And then, no, we're closed.
Yeah, that's a good story. He's from Houston too,
Yeah. So,
or worked here anyways. But yeah,
yeah. So there we go. All right. Yeah. That's huge. Thank you, Jose. You're right. All right. Well, everybody, check it out at this music. And we'll end the show here. So thanks, everybody. Bye to my daughter going to gymnastics. Bye to Kelly. Thanks for safe travels all around the great city of Houston over the next few days.
I hope it works out that way.
Tell John and Dave and everybody we said hey.
I will do that.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Everybody, Kelly Meyer, KFM. There you go. All right. Bye,
How
everybody.
you do that? Like an elbow.
I
wrist,
think
wrist?
you're doing it.
Yeah.
The preceding has been a presentation of Stewed
Fade to
Productions.
black.